everybody, you're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan, and you're sitting in Kana's Corner. And I have a very special guest with me today, and that special guest is a Mr. Joe Ochman. Thank you for joining the show.
Oh, my pleasure. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
And now it was funny because I was all the roles that I was searching up and trying to see what it is that you were doing, but you're actually more into the stage work. Am I correct?
I'm sort of a multi-hyphenate kind of actor. When I first started in New York many years ago, I did a lot of theater and I did a lot of commercials. And then when I came out here, I started doing a fair amount of TV. So I've done a lot of live action, a lot of various roles on series. And then a very, very close friend of mine got me into working in anime. So you name it, I've done it. And it's been that kind of career where when the commercials aren't working, the anime's working. When the anime's not working, the TV's working. When the TV's not working, a film will come up, and or a stage play. You know, it's kind of I'm a Renaissance man, I guess.
Well, that's good that you have so many talents, and I'm sure each one sort of kind of weaves itself into the other.
Shucks, I will blush, but yeah, everything does have some kind of a crossover to it. The theater definitely works with anime because you're doing such broad performances and fun performances so often that you can really bring you to theater, and Shakespeare training and stuff like that really helps. And just the ability to hit a mark and be technically good too, because that's very applicable.
Now, with anime, it's funny, the first time you ever did it, were you kind of lost, matching lip flaps and things like that?
You know, I was the first time I did it. I was doing a gig for Saban back when Saban was doing every darn thing, and a friend of mine got me involved. And the very, very first thing I did was a Walla group, which, for those who don't know, is just basically a group of actors gathered in a room making all the grunts and groans and crowd noises. So lots of over here, and so that was a fairly easy thing to do. And once I started doing stuff on my own, it actually came very quickly to me. I think there are two types of people who do it. There are the real technicians who can just get the flaps exactly right, just in the right nick of time, exactly perfect. And there are people that sort of like dive in and get lucky a lot of times, and then fix any little things afterwards. I think I'm sort of the latter, but have turned into a little bit of the former as well. But I just started diving in, and it seemed to work. I guess I had a lot of music in my past too, and that helped. Just finding the music of the way the flaps worked.
Oh, I see. That's actually really interesting. I've never heard it compared like that.
Oh, it's absolutely music. You know, and various times they'll play the Japanese track first, and or even if they don't, you watch the way the flaps work, and you watch the way the scene works, and you listen to it to whatever track you do have, and let that guy do. Yeah, it's absolutely musical.
That's actually really interesting to me. And now it's funny because you got to start with all the, sort of like background noise and all that sort of thing, like the extra voices, like the uhs and whatnot. Was that
Uh-huh.
fun for you?
Yes, of course. When I do anime, I get to be a 10-year-old kid. I get to play army. I get to do all the things I used to do when I was a kid, and secretly, many of us still want to do in our dotage.
So there's a lot of pretend and a lot of, childhood sort of that inspires you.
Oh, absolutely. And that's one of the reasons I love anime. Anime is a ball. Even if you don't know what you're doing half the time, it's just fun.
Now, I'm curious, you actually have to go and pronounce a lot of Japanese terms and other made-up terms. Is that ever hard for you?
No, you just ask what the pronunciation is. I know. For me, it's once again that's part of the fun. Once again, that's music. Every once in a while there'll be one because the Japanese language, if they're trying to keep true to the Japanese pronunciations, it's instead of you're thinking in your head Naruto and it's Naruto, and you'll get a little mixed up because your American head gets in the way. But you eventually get around it.
Oh, I can understand that. And do you have, I would say, not necessarily a favorite role, but one that sticks out that was more fun than others in anime?
Well, they're all fun to some degree, but there's one that I did. My favorite was, of course, the largest one I did. That was a blip on the anime radar. I did Moncoli Nights, which was on Fox Kids for a couple of seasons, playing Prince Excentro. And he was he was one of these sorts of guys like this. He was very evil, but very effete and very kind of wild and flaming in many ways. He was kind of a ball to play. We just had fun with him because he went on long arias and talked a lot. I'd have to do big, loud, long monologues and have to sync those up. And so it was challenging and it was fun. And it was a wildly theatrical character. And it was a show that actually was leading ratings on Fox Kids for about 2 minutes.
Now, I watched this back in the day, I was a little bit younger, so I might be getting the wrong character in my head, but that was the one who had like the two female henchmen, correct?
Yes, that's the one.
Okay, he was hilarious because I remember he was almost, I guess you could say, a Team Rocket because he would always get foiled.
Yeah, always. Oh, yes. He was an absolute ball to play.
And so you would definitely like more roles like that in the future.
Oh, sure. Once again, that's the big fun thing of anime, and I'm kind of known for the kind of utility guy that they can bring in who will come up with something wild when necessary. So they'll bring me in to do sometimes the ones that all right, we don't know what the heck we're going to do with this. Bring Joe in.
Just call him up.
And I'll come up with some silly, stupid thing, and they'll like it, and then it works.
Well, very cool. And, it's funny because I remember that one as a kid watching it on Saturday morning cartoons. And it's sort of weird to start thinking about it again because I did not know you played that character. So that's my fault.
Yep, that's all right. No sweat. Like I said, it was a bit of a blip. It looked like it was going to do really well, and then for some reason it's kind of faded. They stopped kind of supporting it, which surprised me because it was doing very well from what I had heard.
I'm pretty sure it was very popular. I know a lot of kids at the time who really liked the show, but I guess other things were sort of competing with it, like Pokemon and Digimon.
Yeah, I mean, there were some that were a lot more of the kind of sort of more serious-minded anime that was more popular, that kind of eclipsed it. I think it was on. Was it on around Digimon? I'm trying to remember what was on around it, and I can't offhand, but.
I think Digimon was 02 and Mongolian Knights was 01.
Something like that. I seem to recall that they were back to back, and I'm trying to remember if that's the case or not. There was some other big anime thing that was infinitely more popular around it that eventually eclipsed it. But like I said, when we were doing it, we were having a ball. There were lots of challenges involved in it. I also remember that because. On a more serious note, I was recording an episode of it on 9/11.
Oh, wow.
And the director and I got into the studio quite early, and we started and recorded. He said, "Wait a minute, look at the TV." And we stopped recording and we watched everything unfold, and then just looked at each other and said, "I don't think we're going to be doing this anymore today." And it's one of those "Do you remember where you were?" moments, and Mongolian Knights is that for me, as well as on the other level, it's just a ball to do.
That's sort of amazing. You're the first voice actor I know who was actually in the booth while that was going on. So that must have really.
For some reason, we had a really early call, and we had to do it. We had to do an episode really early, and so we were there for it. We were there when the buildings collapsed.
Oh wow! Well, good thing nobody, you didn't get hurt or anything.
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, I wasn't in New York. We did it in California, but I mean, we were watching it on TV while it was happening.
I remember. Oh gosh, I was in 5th grade.
I was not.
My teacher had it up on the TV during school.
Yeah. Well, it is one of those things where people remember, where they were and what was happening, and yeah, it was. Let's just say all the silliness stopped for a little while.
Oh, I can understand that for sure. And we're going to take a very short break, but when we come back, we'll have more.
Silly. We'll be silly again.
Yes, we will be silly again, and we will have more wise words from you. So make sure to stay tuned to 91.8 The Fan, everything you want, nothing you don't.
91.8thefan.com. Have you logged on today?
Who, me? No. No?
iStock's daily news show, video reviews, articles, forums, in an anime directory. Don't get left behind. Log in today. Only on
918thefan.com?
918thefan.com.
All right, 918thefan.com.
Hey everybody, you're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan, and we're back with Joe Ochman. Thank you for not being chased away by me.
You haven't scared me yet. That even though that deep booming voice is very impressive and imposing.
Well, I wanted to ask you actually, you've been in the industry for a really long time. Have you noticed a really big difference between anime, 10 years ago to now?
Yeah. Well, first off, there's less of it. To be perfectly honest, at least in Los Angeles where I am, the work is fewer and further between to get. In terms of the shows themselves, I don't know. Anime always jumps between the very, very silly stuff like Melancholy Nights that we were talking about, and stuff like Wolf's Rain, which is delightfully dark. And so that just keeps on going. That doesn't really change. But it's where the work is, how much work there is available, where you have to go to get the work. That stuff has changed.
Oh, definitely. I can understand. And, I'm sure technology has also changed a lot in the booth as well and in the studios.
That's very true. It's just because the lovely magnificence of modern technology makes it so much easier for them to ship things around. You were talking before about how hard it is to do the looping or matching the flaps and stuff like that. With the various things that they use, the engineers use, it can be very not hard. I tend to try to be exact as much as I can. I used to have a joke with engineers where they're using Pro Tools to try to correct something. And I would say, stop it. Just don't use Pro Tools. Use Joe Tools. We can get it done faster. Because sometimes they get so caught up in using the technology that they go, no, I'm an actor. Really, I can do that. Just let me. Honest.
I hear that Pro Tools is definitely what everybody uses.
Yeah, as far as I know, pretty much. I suppose I shouldn't be mentioning product, but who knows? I'm sure everybody knows that's pretty much what it is. Most every job I've ever been involved in, that's what they used. Either that or they just were going along with my stupid Pro Tools, Joe Tools rhyming thing.
Now, out of curiosity, have you ever had any mishaps in the booth? Like maybe a microphone falling over or water spilling or anything like that?
Huh. I don't believe I have had anything like that. I mean, I've done gigs where I walked in and I had no voice. I lost my voice.
Oh, no.
I tried to get it back. I just remember I did a gig a few weeks ago. It was for Stitch. They're doing an animated version of Stitch, and that is actually looping. It's foreign looping. I believe it was a Japanese cartoon, but I'm not sure. And I booked the gig. And I went in there, and I had laryngitis. I had no idea what was going to come out of my mouth. So we did, and they hired me based on a voice they already know I have. So I walked in there, and we drank a lot of tea and did the whole thing, and we did the gig, and something came out of my mouth, and the director and the engineer were looking at me, and they were going, "Who's that?" Voice. I went, "I don't know. It's whatever's coming out of my mouth," and it luckily worked. So it was a lot of fun. But yeah, that's happened. I try to think of anything. I got in a terrible car accident going to a looping thing once. Well, I didn't, but some woman swerved to avoid me as I was turning left into the parking lot. She was running like crazy, driving too fast down the street. She swerved to avoid me, beeped, went into the parking lot I was going into, and smashed up 3 cars in that parking lot, including a guy I was working with, the guy who ran the studio, and I think the director.
Oh my God.
So that was before I got into the studio.
That must have been fun to explain. You just come in like, hey, your car is broken. Just
yeah, that was fun. That was fun. But they forgave me. Because of course the police blamed me because they said I was turning and she was swerving to avoid me. And I said, "No, she's speeding. So she's going too fast in a car that's too big for her." And yeah. But we
that sounds like LA traffic.
Yes, welcome to LA. It's a wonderful land. It's a marvelous fantasy kingdom.
Of bad drivers.
Of bad drivers.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember we went up for our convention, Anime Expo, and I can't even count how many times we almost got ran over. It was sad.
Huh. I have never been to an expo. I have never
really?
done an anime expo. I think I may be the only anime guy that's never done one.
So you've never gone to any convention at all?
I mean, I've gone to a couple. I mean, I've been to Comic-Con and once and all that stuff. But in terms of the conventions where I was there, I've never done one. I've actually never done one. I just realized that as you were saying that.
You should send Anime Expo a message being like, I would like to attend. Would you let me in?
You just got me. You just got that little bee in my bonnet. Hey there, listeners. Let's make that happen.
Well, we will actually try and do that. That'd be really cool to get to see you at any conventions nearby. I know that Anime Vegas is in here at Las Vegas, and that they are always looking for new guests every year, new people. So that might be one.
Hey, yeah, I need an excuse to go to Vegas.
Exactly. Like all the voice actors love it because they get an excuse to gamble and party.
I've been to Vegas twice in my life. That's it. And the first time was driving across country to come here, and the second time was actually watching a guy I was studying karate with get an award. He had a whole award banquet thing dedicated to him in Vegas, so a bunch of the students went. Back when I was doing karate, I figured it was good research for anime. I'm making that up.
Well, maybe it helped with the hayas.
Well, yeah, that's absolutely true, and it certainly helps with the whenever you get hurt.
Oh gosh. Well, hopefully you don't need to use your karate in most common situations.
No, luckily I've never had occasion to use it in a common situation, but I definitely have used the hayas and the uhs many, many times.
Well, we do hope to see you at a convention or something this year, and make sure to keep us updated so we can update all your fans who are listening.
I will. Thank you. I appreciate that, and thank you, fans, for listening.
And I'm curious, are you going to make any appearances, maybe at books places, anything like that throughout the year?
There's nothing scheduled right now, but I actually am working on something that I'm not going to talk about yet because I'm not sure whether it's going to work out or not. But I'm definitely working on some stuff. There's a lot of stuff in the hopper. There's always something in the hopper.
Do you have any current projects or upcoming projects you can talk about and promote?
I do. I have 2 games coming out, but as usual with games, and I know you get this all the time, we can't talk about what they are. But there's one real big one that I'm really that was actually kind of an anime kind of performance that's going to come out in May. That's where I got to not only do the voice, the game voices, I also got to do motion capture, which I had never done before. That was a new thing for me. I got to do the whole character and with the spandex suit on and the little balls that are nodes that they get your body movements on and stuff like that. And you get to do a real theatrical performance, and I got to be a very wild character. So very much in the vein of Prince Excentro, actually.
Now, did you get to do motion capture alone, or did you play off another actor or actress?
Played off other actors, actually. It was basically it's like rehearsing a play. They set up wooden things that look like props, and they do the whole thing with the spandex suit, and then you have your actors and you have your script, and you just go to town. It was a lot of fun.
Now, I've heard
unlike anime where you're sitting in a studio by yourself all the time.
Oh yes, that's true. You have some chemistry.
Yes, it's nice to have chemistry. But the fun thing about anime is that it's kind of fun to guess what the chemistry is supposed to be sometimes when you're doing stuff. When you're in the thing by yourself, a line can be read differently, so many different ways depending on what the person before you is saying. And if you don't have that, if you're like the first guy in, and I've been many times the first guy in when they haven't recorded anybody else yet, and they're just finding the rhythm of it. It can be fun to try to make stuff up and then even more fun to see how it comes out when you watch it.
That actually sounds a lot of fun too, and you get to sort of play lines different ways. Like the director can instruct you to say, "Oh no, say it a little bit like this or like this."
Yeah, the good directors are really good at shortcutting. And one nice thing about anime directors is they're all fast. They're good, fast, solid, folks. Most of the ones that I've worked with who really know how to get what they need out of you quickly, give you a quick change that's going to make it happen. And it's because it has to be. You have a certain amount of loops that you want to get done per day to make it work, and it's to make it so you're being efficient, and you really find wonderful shortcuts with people. And you do get chemistry with the person that's in the booth opposite you. Or they're outside the booth opposite you. I mean, the director.
That's true, and it kind of, I would assume, gets you to be a better dubber because, or voiceover actress or actor, because you're kind of taught to, okay, you got to do this faster, you got to not take so many takes.
Exactly, exactly. You have to be fast. One of the things that I'm lucky is that I'm fast. They bring me in, they know they know it's going to happen pretty quick, and that's one of the reasons that I do get hired is because, oh yeah, Joe, he'll come in and he'll knock it out. And luckily, most of the directors are also actors in these things as well, so that everybody really knows the same language.
Well, no, I think that's really neat, and it seems like you have so much experience. I hope we can see you in a lot of big things coming up.
Oh, something will come along. It always does. And if not, there's always there's TV going on. I was on CSI a couple of weeks ago. Here's something that's interesting. I believe in live television. I believe on CSI, the Las Vegas one, the original, which will appeal to you, of course. I believe I have discovered more bodies than anybody in the history of CSI. I've been on it 3 times, and I'm always a guy who discovers bodies, playing the same guy. He's a bird watcher who constantly discovers bodies. As a matter of fact, in his last episode, he quit bird watching to become a nature photographer and went out to the desert to photograph some nature and discovered a body. So I don't quote me, but I think I maybe have the record of more bodies discovered than anybody on CSI.
So that means that the cops don't even need to search anymore. They just put you in the show, and there you go.
When they need a bird watcher, they bring me in there, and I'm the guy that discovers bodies. They've talked about bringing me in, either killing me or having me kill people too, but we'll see. We'll see about that. I'm not holding them to it, but once again, the fans can say things.
Well, that actually must be so different to do the on-camera work in comparison to animated or voiceover.
Well, it's very different because you get to use your whole body. You get to use everything. When you're doing anime, the performance all has to come through your voice. You kind of have no choice. Now you use your body when you're doing it. You should see me in the booth. I'm waving around and jumping like a loony and doing all kinds of stupid things. I look like some kind of spastic thing, a spastic yeti or something. But still, the performance has to come through the voice. It's once again, it's much easier when you have your whole body to work with.
I'd be lying if I said that I wouldn't love to actually see footage of voice actors in the booth, just because.
You would.
Yeah, just as like sort of an extra DVD special or something.
It really should be. That's something I've always thought that there should be. Just watch all the crazy antics. Or just, I remember, we were talking about that first job that I did when I was doing the Walla group, and they don't really do that much anymore. They used to have groups of people that would come in and do the crowd sounds. Now what will happen is you'll go in the booth and I'll do my role, and then they'll say, okay, we need a couple of Walla things, we need a couple of crowd things, and you'll do it by yourself in the booth, and they'll just add them all up and make a mix out of them. But it was more fun when there was a whole bunch of us in the room. But I remember going into the room and everybody was kind of on. Everybody was kind of, hey, how you doing? Am I funnier than you? Oh, I don't know. Are you funnier than me? I don't know. And I went, okay, this is what it's going to be like. Everybody's going to always be on, always be playing. And that was the truth. But it was fun.
That actually sounds like a lot of fun. It's almost like a mini rave party inside of a small little room.
Pretty much. Pretty much without the illicit substances.
Yes, that's true. I don't think that'd be very good to go to work like that.
Oh, not a good idea. Not good. And everybody kind of, I mean, so many of them know each other because they've been doing it for years. So many people it's the same gang. And, when I was first coming in, I wasn't part of the same gang, but you could see that everybody just knew each other so well. And now that I've been doing it for a while, yeah, I know everybody too. But there are new people that come in. There's always new folks, but you don't get to see them like that. I think that used to be a really nice way of creating a community that's not quite there anymore. That's a big change. You're talking about changes before. That's a change. The community of doing Walla work is gone.
I can sort of agree with that. I think the only way that a lot of the anime and video game voiceovers know each other is mostly because they meet at conventions and things like that.
Well, or you see each other coming in and out of the booth, or you see each other at auditions for various things. But by and large, that community, the way that community developed isn't there anymore.
And that's a little sad, but at the same time, you know, hopefully you guys can have some sort of like yearly gathering, just a secret voice acting gathering.
It's a party bunch of folk. There- when there's something going on, everybody gets invited to it. I watched the Oscars over at one of the director actor type guys' houses the other day, and there was the whole gang was there, or a whole bunch of the gang was there. So yeah, it's nice. It's a very social bunch of folk. There's a whole bunch of them that play poker every week. So yeah, it's a very social group.
Well, no, that's very cool. And before we let you go, I was wondering if there's anything else you'd like to tell our listeners out there.
Keep supporting anime. Keep supporting it. Keep listening. Keep watching. Let people know what your favorites are, and enjoy enjoy what you're getting from these fine folk I've been talking to all day, because it's really great that you're out there.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome.
And before we say our goodbyes, I was wondering if you'd like to participate in a 91.8 The Fan tradition.
Give me the tradition.
The tradition is we ask everybody if they'd want to do a bump for us.
I will bump for you anytime. I'm sure you're not referring to the 70s dance.
No, not the 70s dance this time. Maybe another time.
Fine. When you come to sit in the booth and watch what goes on in an anime session, then they'll be bumping. There will be various bump dancing.
Sounds like a plan.
Hey, what do you need me to say?
We were wondering if you could say, whether in your own voice or a character's voice, depending on what you feel like doing, if you could say, "My name is, I do this," and you're tuned into 91.8 The Fan.
Okay, 91.8 The Fan. You got it. Ready?
Yep.
My name is Joe Ochman. I do anime and all kinds of other acting things, and you are tuned to 91.8 The Fan.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I would have done it as Prince Accentro, but we'd have to get, if you need me to do it ever again as Prince Accentro, I will.
Oh, well, wonderful stuff. Well, we really appreciate you coming on the show, and this was an awesome interview.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
And for everybody tuned in and listening, keep it tuned to your favorite station, 91.8 The Fan. Everything you want, nothing you don't. If you missed any of this interview, you can hear it on the website. Just check back later today or tomorrow on 918thefan.com. Here's Girls' Generation and their song Run